Maybe the night sky is black because it represents the human soul. Hey, is that a shooting star? Yippee. Huh. There's a bit of an echo out here. Strange.
Told Mom to go outside during asteroid season. Fuckers are almost as bad as the mosquitoes this year. Oh, hey! You must be here for Woods was sick. I'd tell you that you're just on time, but admittedly, you're the only one who showed up. Guess you're getting the one-on-one package. Remind me to add that to your bill later. Super Mario Galaxy. Where do I even begin? Released in 2007, this Butte was the third attempt at bringing Mario to the third dimension. Nintendo has a good track record with hitting it out of the park on the third try, and this is certainly no exception. I grew up on the 3D platformer, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, Super Mario 64, Rayman 2, Little Big Planet, Pac-Man World 2, and one glorious Christmas in 2008, Galaxy joined that roster. Like most of these platformers, Galaxy has a pretty simple plot. After crashing the Star Festival, which is a celebration based around these probably radioactive pieces of space junk falling from the sky, Bowser lifts Peach and her castle out of the ground and fucks off into the great beyond. And after a failed attempt to pursue them, Mario is launched into the far reaches of space himself. When he wakes up, he does what any of us would do in that situation and plays hide and speak with some talking space bunnies. This is where we first get to fully explore the movement of the game. Compared to previous entries, Mario's movement is pretty tame. No spin jump, no dive, no punches or kicks. Just basic jumps, triple jumps, wall jumps, backflips, and side flips. That is, until we meet this little star creature called Illuma, who grants us the movement gimmick of this title, the Spin. The Spin is an amazing multi-purpose tool, serving as an attack, a boost in both horizontal and vertical movement, and a way to activate screws, switches, shells, simple flips, sling stars, satanic sacrifices, squid-seeking slams, and really anything else that you could think of that starts with S. Actually, on the subject of the homing ground pound, it took me an embarrassingly long time for me to figure out how to do it. I was about halfway through the playthrough I did for this video when I realized you just ground pound during an aerial spin. Anyways, after rounding up enough of those totally not hallucinated rabbits, the best written character in the franchise graces you with her presence. Rosalina tells you that Bowser has set up base in the center of the universe, and she could take you there if you could power her observatory. After that, it's pretty much all on you. You need 60 power stars and 4 grand stars to reach the center of the universe, but which ones you grab is up to the player. Of course, you need a certain number of stars to reach new galaxies to get more stars, but there's more than enough going around. The 120 stars are split across 6 domes, which act as miniature hubs. Each dome hosts 5 galaxies, which are the levels of the game. There's minor galaxies, which only have a single star each, Bowser galaxies, which act as boss levels, with each giving you a single grand star, which is used to unlock the next dome. Finally, there's the major galaxies, with 6 stars each, 3 main stars, 1 hidden star, and 2 comet stars. To get a comet star, you have to visit a planet that has a comet in orbit, which puts a unique spin on the galaxy depending on the color. Daredevil comets lock your max health at 1, cosmic comets have you race to the star against a shadow version of yourself, purple comets, which are only unlocked after beating the base game, ask that you grab 100 purple coins that have been scattered all throughout the galaxy. Speedy comets force you to redo a star but with a slightly strict time limit, and fast vote comets make the enemies move slightly faster. Okay, not all of them are winners, but some of them can actually be pretty challenging. Cosmic Comets kinda kicked my ass when I was playing through the game as Luigi, especially before I learned how to get the boost at the start. You just hold forward as the countdown starts, hold Z on 2, and press A on go. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, you unlock Luigi after getting all 120 stars. He's more slippery than Mario, and there's some slight changes that increase the difficulty, which is much appreciated since this isn't necessarily a hard game. I should mention that my playthrough was an entirely Luigi playthrough. I never did it as a kid, and there's a secret bonus star if you get all 120 stars with both Mario and Luigi, so I figured this was a pretty good chance to finally get the true 100% to get some closure on one of my childhood favorites. Might as well share some of my thoughts on Luigi while we're on the topic. It's pretty obvious that he is put in here as a bonus for those who really love the game rather than a legitimate second campaign. His slipperiness is honestly a little much at times. I got used to it by the end of the playthrough, but there was a good couple hours where the game felt almost sloppy to control because of it. Tight walkways haunted my dreams, and I mean that literally.
Bro, shut I'm trying to go to sleep.
Fuck off, Craig! Alright, I'm sure you don't get it by now. It's fucking Mario in space. You don't need a degree in geology to figure that one out. So let's move past the formal introductions and get into the actual meat of the fucking...
Wait! Stop!
What? I thought you were fucking dead.
You're forgetting about the multiplayer.
What? Oh, shit, that. It's barely even a fucking feature. It's just the reason to put 2 players on the box.
It's game night!
Alright, fine. Let's go. See, you don't fucking do anything. Like, are you playing, like, Mario Kart or Smash or, like, literally anything else?
But I want to play this!
But it's literally not fucking doing anything.
Individu sectum semper vespitilla dominus infernis.
Yeah, I think we should play this for a little bit longer. Okay, now we can move on to what you're really here for. What makes Super Mario Galaxy so special? A lot of people who grew up with the game are coming of age about now, so naturally the game is going to be talked about a lot. So is the hype just nostalgia, or does it actually have meat to back up its legendary status? Well, let's take a look at my list. 1. Theme and environment. Unlike its predecessors, Galaxy Stars are much shorter and more linear, usually about 5 minutes long. While you're sometimes given a bit of room to explore, just heading straight for the goal every time is still going to show you most of everything there is to see in a given galaxy. While on paper this may seem like there'd be less freedom in content, in reality, each star is so finely tuned and chock full of unique moments that every second of the game feels fresh and memorable. Despite not playing it since I was a kid, I could still very clearly remember the majority of the game, and I mean that in the best way possible. This is owed to 2 major factors. Firstly, the theme of space has such a broad scope that you can have dozens and dozens of different environments without it feeling out of place, so nothing blends together. Within these environments, the context of space allows for some really unique set pieces that you couldn't really find anywhere else. On a smaller scale, random floating platforms feel at home in a zero-gravity environment, so you don't have to suspend your disbelief as much as if they were, say, by a mountainside. Secondly, the sheer amount of unique assets in the game is mind-boggling. There's so many unique planets that you fly past in seconds that never appear again, and this extends to the background pieces and enemies too, like these mines for example. Never used outside of this one situation. The only major examples of reused assets are the Dreadnought and Gold Leaf galaxies. And even then, they feel like an excuse to expand on their ideas and environments without breaking the 6-star formula, rather than rehashing content for the sake of prolonging the game. This doesn't really fit with the other points, but it's still part of the environment, I have to say it somewhere. Rosalina's observatory, as the hub world, is absolutely beautiful. While slightly more cumbersome than, say, Galaxy 2's hub, I can't help but fall in love with what's going on here. It feels like a home rather than just an environment or set piece. Which makes sense because for the Lumas, this is home. The cold, open space that envelops you at all times contrasts with the warmth and safety of the observatory, which really doubles down on this being a safe haven. Seeing it slowly become more and more lively is an amazing way to make your actions feel like they actually have purpose beyond Mario's tunnel vision on the woman who doesn't love him back. Number 2. Milk. Milk? What? Wait, fuck, this is my grocery list. Hold on. Here. Number 2. Gameplay. Like I mentioned before, there's so many unique and memorable moments, and this extends to the challenges in platforming too. While your movement seems simple at first, it's pushed to its limits in so many different ways that it never feels like it's boring or too little. You've got vertical segments, races, tight walkways, times where you gotta plan your movements out ahead, challenges for your positioning and spacing, multi-directional movement, exploration, combat, whatever the fuck this is, and so much more. People love to complain about the quote-unquote unnecessary motion controls, but I found them to be pretty well implemented. And the challenges that came with them were fun and really wouldn't be the same with an analog stick. If for whatever reason that you decide you don't actually want to experience the game, you only need about 50% of the stars in order to reach the final level. That means you have an insane amount of wiggle room, so if you insist on calling the motion controls unenjoyable, then you can very easily skip them with room to spare. But even aside from the change-up the game gives, the base movement feels so smooth. Nothing is as satisfying as reaching a high area with a backflip to spin, or launching yourself over a chasm with a long jump just to land exactly where you wanted. A simple moveset is not equivalent to a restrictive or boring moveset, and Galaxy is an amazing example of this. While some may miss the wide exploration-based levels, I personally much prefer the tightly defined and polished linear ones. I'm aware that this is subjective, but that doesn't take away from the fact that at its core, the game is fun to control, which is the most important part of a platformer. If simply moving around a map is fun, then anything that you fill that map with is going to be fun by extension. Number 3. Story. While on paper the plot is the same as nearly every non-RPG Mario game, Galaxy is dressed up in a way that makes everything seem so much more grandiose and important this time around. Nintendo always seems to be so split on how they want to portray Bowser. He's either shown as a ruthless supervillain who's ready to kill to reach his selfish desires, or just some single father with anger issues and a concerning amount of military-grade weaponry. While I generally prefer Dad Bowser, Galaxy absolutely perfects the bad guy Bowser. It's hard not to quiver in fear as he monologues about recreating the Roman Empire with his hair whipping in the wind. Wind? Wait, I thought they were in space. Whatever. It truly feels like the entire universe is at stake here rather than just another unhappy relationship. But just having a cinematic feel isn't enough to warrant its own section of the video, is it? At the end of the day, it's a Mario plot, and yet, well, let me put it this way. Ever since I got out of my little piss baby phase, 7 games total have made me cry. 3 of those games are Super Mario Galaxy. This is due to the fact that there's an optional subplot going on behind the curtains. Remember this line? The best written character in the franchise. Well, if you visit the library, Rosalina will give you pieces of her past in a storybook format, with more of it unlocking as you progress through the game. Admittedly, if it weren't for the nostalgia of the music hitting me like a fucking 1998 PT Cruiser, I probably wouldn't have cried as much, but once I hit chapter 7, I picked up on something that 6-year-old me was too stupid to understand.
Yo, bro, did you see that new Zelda game that... Wait. Are you crying, bro? Dude, this is like the 5th time this week. Mario? Isn't this just a Mario game?
Man, she misses her mom.
Oh, you're right.
4. Music. Somewhere along the line of development, Nintendo made their best decision of all time and opted to use a full orchestra to play the music. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a huge fucking nerd. Nothing will ever get me going like violins, trumpets, and choirs. Now, I'm not trying to bash those who create MIDIs, rather to praise the use of orchestra, but if you see this... and then compared to this... without even hearing the music, you can already tell that one of these is going to have so much more life and passion behind it. Some of the old trailers for Galaxy even have MIDIs in use, and it's just so flat and lifeless in comparison. With every individual adding their own flavor and personality to something greater than themselves, a room packed with talent and passion, the sound of an orchestra is generally so much more grand and feels the sense of wonder and importance that the game's theme already implies. What's more, the music often changes paces and tone dynamically to fit the current situation, like during the Poltergeist fight. As he's vulnerable, the music gets an extra kick to go along with the shot of adrenaline that your body just gave you. Now let's cut with the nerd shit and just listen to some fucking jams. Oh yeah, did I mention that the music sounds fucking good? Now some may have you believe that Gusty Garden Galaxy is the only song in the game, which is not true. Not to discredit the song of course, it's perfect for uplifting and inspiring the player to keep pushing forward. Then there's Boy Base with its relentless tension and sense of danger. Matter Splatter has a sense of mystery and otherworldliness that's perfect for the space setting. The Storybook theme, which space junk is like a breath of fresh air, releasing all the tension and stress from your body and just telling you, it's okay, just relax. And of course, what's a Mario game without some lighthearted, bubbly fun?
Alright, that pretty much covers all the bases, but I wouldn't really be satisfied if I just ended things off here. So there's just too many good things that I want to at least mention. But I guess that means we're going to have ourselves a lightning round.
Honey Hive has a narrative arc where killing off an infestation of Mandybugs provokes them and causes them to invade the rest of the galaxy. Beach Bowl's Secret Star filled me with an emotion I could only describe as whimsical. Luigi saying star after grabbing a Grand Star just makes me smile. I love Bouldergeist, both the boss and the level leading up to it. It kind of reminded me of a Hat in Time for no particular reason. I trust the Luma Shop with my life. I love these colored pencils drawing in the sky using starbits, it's really charming. Gold Leaf Galaxy. Oh, fuck you too then. Deep Dark Galaxy is such a fun mix of whimsical and sinister. King Fiend is just a ripoff of Jano from Rayman 2. Gusty Garden's third star is a perfect testament to how well the gravity mechanics have held up compared to other games. I'm looking at you, Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh, come on, man. In Sonic, it was only a gimmick for a few levels, not the basis of the entire game. You got a grudge against Sonic or something?
Shadow the Hedgehog called me uncool.
The Camilla fight on the ship was really cool. I love how you have to climb up to the upper deck to continue the fight, and how crowded and chaotic that makes it. Almost all of the secret stars were so fun to find and collect. Toy Time Galaxy just screams happiness. It's probably my favorite galaxy in the game. Beach Bowl Star 2 is just comically short, which would normally be negative, but I just find it fucking funny, honestly. Dusty Dune is just so fun. The final dome is so peaceful and calming, which contrasts amazingly with the difficulty spike that comes with it. It is the final chunk of the game after all, and it is completely optional since the final level of the game is unlocked by this point. Melty Molten Galaxy is super cinematic, and it feels like the perfect send-off into the final level of the game. It feels like you can't go 30 seconds without running into a picture-perfect shot. The Bowser levels are so much fun. It's kind of disappointing that there's only 3 of them, since the other 3 boss levels are more focused on the unique boss fights rather than the levels. Speaking of, the final level, the center of the universe, oh, it's so well crafted. It retreads a lot of the environmental themes while still feeling fresh, and the way that makes up the Bowser fight is so cool. I especially love the part where you have to use the plants. And oh my god, the final cutscene of the game. What an amazing reward for finishing this masterpiece. It feels so good to be able to finally finish this game for good.
No, fucking no, god damn it, no.
So, I mistreated my games a lot as a kid, and it's honestly a surprise that some of them even still function. For this disc in particular, the only real problem I had with it is a similar freeze during the intro cutscene, which is conveniently bypassed when starting the game as Luigi. I went through the entire game, every single star that was available to me with no problems at all, and yet, in the final moments, my victory was ripped from my hands and crumpled into nothing. I guess I could get the 241st star on the emulator I've been using for footage, but I don't know, it's just not the same. It's a hollow victory.
Well, at the very least, while I was working on this video, Nintendo announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, so at least I could come back at a later date and finish it on official hardware. And hey, if I find the port words, I'll make an update video or whatever. But yeah, that's Super Mario Galaxy. I'm really glad I could come back to this and prove to myself that it truly is one of the greats. Even ignoring my bias, I could find very little wrong with the game. That isn't to say that it's perfect by any means, it's really hard to make a truly flawless game.
For example, Seaslide Galaxy kinda overdid the whole race thing. I felt like the power-ups were underwhelming for the most part, and the game was a little easy before the final dome. This doesn't really count, but how the black holes were handled was kinda stupid, especially since there's a point in the game where you die without falling into one. They're just kinda visually intrusive.
Hey, look, man, I passed high school physics, okay? Don't test me on this. These black holes are fucking way too close to these planets. The planets should be getting torn to shreds. Not to mention that they're not big enough. The planets aren't big enough to fucking have a gravitational pull like that. The gravity's skewed on both ends. Unless we assume that these aren't black holes at all, but just globs of dark matter floating around in space. Or even then we have to assume that everything has a higher gravitational pull. But in that case, Mario should be fucking...
Damn it again!
Yeah, sorry about that. The cleanse get a little haywire at times, but conveniently we're done with this first episode of With Sick. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and maybe you can join us another day sometime soon. Oh yeah, and policy says if a fatal accident occurs, all fees are voided, so don't worry about that. Which means we're done here. You can leave. Like, get out of my house.